has anybody got any questions for the panel?
Thank you. Thank you, I really enjoyed that. I had a question really, I had a few actually, but I'm going to start with one and see how it goes. Toby made a really good point about changing habits, and my question for the panel really was, what is it that you do other than bringing the vehicles to people? How do you engage with communities or businesses to ensure, or even individuals, to bring about that behaviour change so they actually start using the vehicles and actually get out of their cars or off public transport, whatever they're using?
Well, I can give you my answer. When we launched Autolib, we installed the charging points in the street, and we have some shelters where you can subscribe, and then we just take the people in the street, bring them to the car, ask them to try for free, and then they subscribe. And we've done that during months. And that's the easiest way. You change habit by demonstrating what you are offering. People may not be aware that a car sharing or a car club is something very easy. They may think that an electric car is something complicated. What you've got to do is to show it. The demonstration is the best way to go. That's what we've done. And after that, of course, we use all the traditional communication means. But the basic of it is grab people in the street, show them.
And so at Zipcar, what we do, the first thing is when people join, we speak to them on the telephone, answer any questions they might have outstanding, and make their first reservation for them there and then on the phone. So that gets them in the car the first time. And that's the wow moment. When you open a car with a telephone, people are usually impressed by that. They go and do whatever it is they want to do. They have fun. And from that moment onwards, they've got it, they're hooked. And word of mouth is incredibly important for us. I think what I'd say, though, is that, you know, the reason we've embarked on all this public engagement this year is that if we want to get to that 1 million number, if we want to get mainstream, then I think we need bigger reach, a bigger voice, which is kind of the London voice, and almost the implicit endorsement that goes with that, that this is a new part of London's transport mix. It's here to stay, so kind of get with it, start using it, just as you do all the other traditional forms of public transport.
Dominic, do you want to? Okay. There was another question, I think.
Can I ask another one? I should say, my name's Caroline Watson. I'm from Global Action Plan, and we're an environmental behaviour change charity, hence my question. But I was really interested, there's a couple of people on the stage who've definitely got all-electric fleets on the road in London. I wasn't entirely sure whether the BMW Drive Now was all vehicles. Are they all electric?
Our fleet in San Francisco is a pure electric fleet. Okay. It's 70 pure electric vehicles. We're currently investigating opportunities to increase the share of electric vehicles also in the other cities. We have a few electric vehicles in Berlin, but it's not a pure electric fleet currently, because the infrastructure as it stands does not allow, in our model, which is locationless, allow for a pure electric fleet.
Okay, well, and so that was my question to the rest of the panel, really, whether you were moving to ultra-low emission vehicles as part of the daily rental or daily hire.
Yeah, so at Zipcar, we've got two streams going on that could well come together. The first is even just with our existing model where you bring the car back to its dedicated parking space, yes, we're looking to introduce more EVs or plug-in hybrids during the course of next year and beyond. And so that's quite a challenge, though, because there are issues around charge time, range, cost, and so on that makes it challenging. But with the right partnerships, we believe we can pull that off. Over in the States, we're also beta testing right now Zipcar One Way. So that's a to B version of car sharing, rather like you've heard about. And we've done a lot of research into how people are using all the different forms of car sharing today to design that. And that's why it's made A to B. That also lends itself to be electric. if that's what London wants. I think where we've got to be very careful, though, and again, why we're embarking on this engagement, is to make sure that London makes big strategic decisions with as much data available as possible, because the behaviour changes you're looking for are different across the different forms of car sharing. And so the interplay between public transport and car sharing varies depending on the model. The interplay between taxis and car sharing varies depending on the different kind of the different model of car sharing you have, and indeed the taxi provision in the city that you have. So there's lots of data and lots of discussion that we need to go for to get the right solution for London.
Randall, Chris?
Yeah, I'll just kind of answer from a daily rental perspective. As a company, we carry probably about 90,000 hybrid vehicles. Electric vehicles is considerably smaller. It's less than 1% of our fleet, and certainly in the UK, I think you're both right. It really comes down to infrastructure. It's a cart horse thing. Do we have the infrastructure to put the cars on the road that are electric or not? But in the UK, we do have electric cars. We also run, and we're looking to open what we call some green branches. So we do this in the United States, where major cities have green branches where they only run hybrid and electric vehicles and have charging points. So we're looking at the possibility of putting those in the London area in the foreseeable future. So some of are the resources ahead of us? Are they there for us to implement it? And obviously there's a desire, but it's matching those up. That sort of helps.
Thanks. I think we've got time for one more question. Gentleman there.
Yeah. Hello. As a regular Barclays bike hire key holder, I have an annual pass for that. I see the advantages of brand recognition. You know exactly where Barclays bikes are, where the stations are. I see before me 5 different companies. So what are we talking about? The potential for various car clubs from different companies, each with their own schemes? Or is there some kind of interaction whereby one can use the other? That was one question. The second question I have was, with Barclays Bike, you've got the commuter demand where, everything, when you arrive at Waterloo Station, you can't find bikes, so you've got all these people rapidly loading the bikes, and then similarly coming home, it's difficult to, they're rapidly emptying them as you return them. So are we going to have a similar kind of situation with your cars, where you're going to have contractors moving the cars to where people want to take them from?
Do you want to just say, from a daily rental perspective, one ways was what we're talking about. Dropping a car off at one place, that's very doable for us. When we start to talk about car clubs, it's more of a challenge, like Boris Bikes. We see cars and trucks going by with lots of bikes to bring them back. That is still a challenge, and I don't think we all have a 100% answer for how that works, but it is working in some small places with our company in the States, and I don't know how.
This field is relatively new, and I understand that, of course, interoperability is probably something which should go in some way in the future. Today, of course, we are a number of different companies with a number of different approach, different offers. In Paris, it's a public service, so as it's a public service, it's the only company offering car sharing. In other countries, other cities, it's different. We think that probably we will try to avoid entropy, and we will try to make all the system work together as far as possible.
And I think what I'd say is, so as we stand now, there are, and of course, a big issue here is parking real estate. It's such a premium, parking real estate, and very political too. But several London boroughs already operate what we call a multi-operator model, and so there will be both City Car Club and Zipcar alongside each other for people in that borough to choose between. And of course, with the round trip back to base model, you don't have the problem of displacement like the bikes. I think as London begins to look at one way, then you've raised a really interesting question because you've got to have something like, is it 2 to 2.5 times the number of parking spaces per cars? And then if you've got to start thinking about, well, if we're going to have 2, 3, 4 operators, are they sharing parking spaces or are they dedicated? How many are there in aggregate? And there's just a lot of stuff, I think, that needs discussion and to be worked through going forwards.
From our point of view, the London market is large enough to accommodate more than one operator. So all of us sitting in a space in the marketplace grows up to 1 million members by 2020. The second point about clustering and use for commuting, from our point of view, there are 2 ways to steer this. Clearly, from a business point of view, clustering cars in the morning around central kind of transportation hub is a challenge. First, it's price-wise, it's not positioned against public transport. It's more expensive because it's more flexible. The second point is it's a fine-tuning of the business area. So if you think especially transport hub like area around King's Cross, there's no space whatsoever. So in the flexible model, tailor the business area and take these transport hubs out is a second means to steer this. What we see in our German operations is for each trip from A to B, there's a trip from B to C. So based on our experience in Berlin, for instance, which is the most close to London, we don't see a clustering of these cars.
So could you put your hands together and give the panel a round of applause, and thank you very much for your time in such good time.